everybody. We missed you last week. So we'll do it again this week just to get back in the flow of things. So our Almost Agreement at gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, or YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. While you're there, check out the cool stuff we got going on the website. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Like, friend, follow, share. Do what you can to help support us and get the word out, because we're going to keep talking about the different stuff that's going on. We are moments away from the 2025 state session to get kicked off, and there will be some fun stuff that I'm sure we get to talk about in that. So that's just a little over a month away, so we'll talk about that. We got some Thanksgiving stuff. We got a hunting trip. We got the chicken cartel and the potato cartel getting crazy, and we're going to talk about that among other things. Almost Agreement, favorite podcast provider, like, friend, follow, share, tell your friends about us, all those cool things. And we're Almost Agreement, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to do a show. Here we go. Hi, buddy.
Hey.
What's new with you?
Oh, not much.
Oh, not much. I missed you last week. I'm sorry that we didn't get to do a show or get to go. You didn't get to come hunt with us or whatever. All those things. I always like you being around in my life.
No.
So you did text me yesterday. You had some complications with Thanksgiving. You poor empty tummy for longer than you wanted it to be.
I know. Well, I was trying to save room. I thought it was just going to be me and my parents. So
well, we did.
Well, I don't want to get sent home with a bunch of leftovers, so I might as well eat what I can.
Yeah, just go prepare properly. That's what you're supposed to do, not eat.
Right.
We ended up doing a double because we had a part of the family that was working or doing some stuff in the evening. So we did a ham lunch and then came back with the turkey dinner.
I tried to do that a couple times. It's really hard because like that first family, you almost look like an asshole for like not eating like you don't like the food. And it's like, well, no, I really like it. I just can't eat much of it because here in like 2 more hours I got to do this again.
Yeah, and so we did it, and I have a bunch of ham and a bunch of turkey.
Right.
The taters went well. Most of the good stuff, we just got a bunch of protein. So we're going to be having some turkey sandwiches and ham sandwiches and the like for the next couple of days for sure.
Roommate won a turkey, I guess, from his office. It's a big fucker, too.
How big?
Was it too early to cuss? It was like prepackaged, so it's in like that plastic and netting also.
Yeah.
I was looking all around. I couldn't find it. It's got to be at least 15, 20 pounds. Like, it's a big fucker.
Yeah. We did a 26er, so.
Yeah.
I like him large.
Well, he's never cooked it before.
Yeah.
But he's got it been thawing out.
Yeah, that's
always like it could take like 2 days to thaw out from frozen.
Yeah, that's always one of the weird things that you got to pay attention to if you're messing with doing a turkey.
I think I got a pan big enough. I was like, no, man, you need to go get like one of those big tinfoil ones. I was like, you're going to need it.
Yep. Take out the extra shelving in the...
Yep, I mentioned that too. I was like, going to take out like 2 shelves.
Yep, going to take out some shelving in the oven to make sure there's space. And
I told him, I was like, I've never cooked turkey. He's like, I'll have to watch some videos and look it up.
It's not that big a deal.
I know it's not too bad. There's a calculation of how many pounds versus how long and what temperature. Some people like the low and slow.
Yeah. It don't matter as long as it gets to about 155, 160 before you take it out of the heat. And then you let it sit for about 30, and it's going to kick up to that 165, 170, and you're not going to get sick.
Right.
But once you get like past like the 170, 175 range, that's when it starts turning into paper, and it's really dry. That's the hard part about turkey is not drying it out.
It's pre-brine, so hopefully that'll help it be a little juicier.
Well, it's just going to come out. It's going to sweat out when you thaw it anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, if the bag that it's in is good enough, it'll stay kind of soaking in it. But I don't know. I know I brine mine a bunch and stuff like that. I've got process, but I don't know that I can tell a lot of difference. The only thing that I've done that I thought was actually functionally helpful, but it ended up making it really ugly, was I took and I pulled the skin up and shoved like whole pats of butter between the skin and the chicken, or in the chicken and the turkey itself.
Yeah.
And then let it melt into it, and so the butter just melts into the meat as it cooks. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think I've heard people just taking like melted butter and taking like the injectors and just like keep injecting it with butter like every 30 minutes.
Yeah, same idea. Just gotta keep poking at it and keep the moisture.
Keep it juicy.
Okay, I think the only thing that I don't know that I did the first time that I think I wish somebody had said is just cover it. Put a layer of foil over the top, and so any of that let it get forces the moisture back down into the pan, so you have stuff to recycle onto it.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing that I think I wish I'd known in previous versions that I do now regularly, but I used to not do.
I could see that for the first good bit of it.
Yeah, just the last
And then kinda
45, you take it off.
Get it nice and goldy brown.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, that's our recipe portion of the show. All right, so I got to start with this. I know we're not a sports show, but the current playoff for college football has us playing Georgia again in the first round at Athens, which I think is not going to happen. This is more prediction than it is.
I joked with a roommate. I was like, it's going to be Georgia again. And I was like, Georgia's going to beat them. I was fucking with them during the game. I kept coming out of my room. I was like, go Bulldogs!
I really think Georgia probably would beat Tennessee again in Athens again, but I don't think the committee's going to let that happen. It doesn't matter what happens this weekend. It doesn't matter what happens in the SEC championship and championship weekend next weekend. I don't think the college football playoff committee is going to have a regular season rematch as round one in a playoff series. They're going to move one of us up or down one spot so that we're not playing each other immediately.
I think so.
I just for the sheer case if they don't want to do that game again. Because what do they want? Like, what do they really want? They don't. If this isn't about putting,
they want viewership,
right?
A lot of people would watch it again. I don't see why they wouldn't.
I think
everybody likes a redemption story.
Yeah, but what's a Georgia fan's take on it?
They want to see him win again.
And okay, then what's a fan that's indifferent to both teams? What's a Ohio State Big Ten fan?
They just want to see. I mean, I think I didn't really watch much of the game, but I think it was still a decent back and forth game to an extent.
It was for a little bit, and then Georgia kind of started running away with it. I think realistically, what the general a non-SEC audience, a non-Florida or Tennessee, or sorry, a non-Georgia or Tennessee audience is going to say, we've seen that game, I'm going to go watch something else. Whether it's a different game that's going on at the same time in the tournament, or I'm going to go watch the basketball, or I'm going to watch the pro game, or whatever else is on that weekend. I've already seen this game, I'm going to go watch something else. I think that would be the generic anybody in the country who isn't already a fan of these two teams. Because if you're a Big Ten fan...
But do you see that in football going into the playoffs? I mean, I'm sure the teams have played each other. Yeah, it'd still be the same conference.
Sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. Yeah. But the thing with pro ball is it's not an opinion poll that lines these teams up. There's no play for, I want this matchup because it makes more sense in pro ball. Pro ball is a scientific, mathematical... You win this game, you lose these games. You win here, you lose there. This is how you get seeded in the playoffs. That's how the NFL isn't a mushy, group of writers and stuff that gets to make a decision. It is a mathematical, statistical machine that just pumps out the answer.
Okay,
it's what it is.
I see what you're saying. Yes,
but I'm just saying if you have the ability to make it much, because I think like an Indiana Tennessee game or an Indiana Georgia game is going to be more watchable. Is going to be a more universally palatable game because all your SEC fans are going to watch Georgia beat Indiana. All your Big Ten fans are going to want to watch Indiana beat Georgia.
So you think even if UT loses tomorrow, they're still in?
Oh, if they lose tomorrow, they're not in at all.
Okay.
And which, to be fair, we shouldn't look past Vandy. Vandy has been a very fun team this year, making messes.
Yeah, I didn't look at the rest of their schedule. I know they beat Alabama, which was a big upset.
Yeah, they beat Bama. They took a couple teams later than they should have. They won a couple games. I made a bunch of money off of Vandy this year because Vegas kept giving them like plus 15 and plus 18, and they keep playing teams well. And it's like, okay, I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
I tell like Georgia Tech right now, and this Georgia Tech game that's playing right now. Georgia Tech is very similar to Vandy this year. They're beating teams they're not supposed to, and they're staying in games they're not supposed to. And Vegas had it at like a 2+ touchdown line. I was like, I'll take Georgia Tech plus 2 touchdowns in this game. I think they'll keep it closer than they're supposed to. I mean, hell, the pro game tonight, the pro game that was on earlier today was Kansas City and Vegas, the literally statistically best team in football versus literally the statistically worst team in football, and it was a 2-touchdown game, and I took Vegas, and they ended up only losing by 2 points. Like pro ball's got a whole other thing. Anytime a pro game's more than 10 points, I'm almost always going to take the dog. Pro teams are too good to be that bad at stuff. But anyway. My prediction is that we won't get the Georgia-Tennessee rematch in the first round.
Okay.
Regardless of what happens today or tomorrow or in the SEC championship, the committee is going to make sure that game is not round 1 rematch. If it's a round 2 rematch because of the way seeding works, maybe. But that actually can't happen anyway. It'd have to be a round 3 semifinal game, which would be very unlikely. But I just don't see again, if the point is to try to get people to watch it and put together compelling games, a rematch is not a compelling game versus Georgia playing Indiana, Tennessee playing Indiana.
Even with it still being just like the playoff game or playoff game.
But it's not as intriguing as none of those would be as intriguing as either Georgia or Tennessee playing Indiana, either Georgia or Tennessee playing Penn State, either Georgia or Tennessee playing
See, I think more
Boise.
people would watch Tennessee, Georgia versus Tennessee, Indiana. But
see, I think here, yes. But I think everybody around here would watch a Georgia Indiana game. We want to see Georgia beat the shit out of a Big Ten school. Even though we hate on Georgia because we're Tennessee fans, we still want to see an SEC. We want to revel. That's the thing about college football that's so interesting to me because I do it too. I want to see the SEC beat every other conference in every game possible. The only time I want to see an SEC team lose is when they're playing Tennessee. Other than that, I want to see the SEC teams win. Because my argument is the SEC is the best conference in football, and it has been and it will continue to be. And it's kind of not fair to SEC teams because Mississippi State is probably better than Indiana. They're not going to get in the tournament. Texas A&M is better than Indiana. They're not going to get in the tournament. Hell, fucking South Carolina is probably better than Indiana or Boise State or a couple other teams that are going to make this tournament. South Carolina's not getting in.
Can the NCAA force teams into other conferences at all?
No.
They always have to electively go to another. I guess ask and get permission to move.
It's a two-way street. The team would have to ask for it, and the conference would have to agree to it. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it like. If you're a Boise State or a Utah, there's no incentive for you to get into one of these big boy conferences. You stay in the itty bitty baby Pac-10 or Mountain West or whatever conference you're in. Just be gone. You have a better shot at make the playoffs as the MAC conference winner than you do being a top 12 team in the country. Because that's literally where we're at right now. I think Boise State's ranked 17 in a couple of different polls, but is going to make a playoff spot because they are the winners of the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah.
That's another one. Miami. I don't think Miami deserves to make the tournament, but they're gonna. But Notre Dame. That's fucking Notre Dame. I don't like Notre Dame either, but they should be there too. I don't know. I'm excited about it. I've just again, I was just saying for the record, I don't think Georgia and Tennessee are playing each other in round one. Just want to get that out there so it's on record before it happens. I guess we could talk about it next week too, but
sure, why not?
Well, the game won't be till next Saturday anyway.
Yeah.
Or the SEC championship is next Saturday or Sunday, which Georgia is going to. It'll be Georgia Tech no matter what happens tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I guess A&M could technically sneak in. I don't remember how that broke down. Where is old Texas A&M at? They're yeah, I can't remember. They might be able to. Yeah, they're 5-2. So if they won tomorrow, they'd be 6-2. Yeah, A&M could actually leapfrog Texas and make it to the Georgia to play Georgia. That would be interesting. Because they would beat Texas in the tiebreaker, and they'd both be 2-loss teams in the SEC.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, flip a coin. Oh, okay, so round one of the two voting meetings in the city of Knoxville happened last week, or earlier this week, on the pilot program for that high-rise that's right off of Henley Street that we've been talking about that's had all the flack from the neighbors.
All right.
That one's happening. All the approvals are in place. The city council voted unanimously to permit the pilot, and they have to do it again next meeting just because that's how city works. Interesting little details that I'd heard, and I think this is the stuff that you care about. Currently, that lot is collecting $30,000 a year annually in property tax combined, city county. $17,000 for the city, $13,000 for Knox County is what it makes in property tax for the city for the municipalities locally currently. When this project is completed and the reassessment is done upon the completion of the project, when they start selling these units off or renting the apartments and whatnot, it's going to be about $1.5 million a year property tax property.
Once the pilot program's over, right?
Right. Or if the pilot program wasn't there, it would be a $1.5 million annual tax burden for the owners.
Right, but if they get the pilot program,
They got the pilot program, and so they're going to continue paying $30,000 for the next 13 years, technically. The pilot's a 10-year program upon completion of construction, which they're estimating is about a 2.5, 3-year project. So in 2034, 35, that property will start paying $1.5 million in taxes annually. But they'll also take their 30-something affordable housing units and turn them into market rate, likely at the same time. That's what the city gets in exchange for not collecting that $10 million over the next 10 years.
they get guaranteed at least 10 years of affordable housing.
As long as the pilot program's in place, the percentage of I don't remember. I didn't jot that down. They did give the numbers,
Right.
but a certain percentage of the units in that building, in order for them to get the pilot, have to be affordable, low income or whatever it's called housing, workforce housing. I think is what they call it.
Workforce housing.
Yeah, people that work regular jobs that couldn't afford to live there otherwise.
Okay.
I think it's, but that's a national labor statistic, like National Labor Safety Board or whatever, not Safety Board, but National Department of Labor Statistics is how they set that number, and it's like it depends on the size of the family and stuff like that. But a 2-parent single child household, I think. In the region that Knox County lives in is something where in the combined of like $55,000 a year. That's the threshold. And so you have to make, if you make 80% or less of that $60,000 a year, you can be eligible for that workforce housing.
You can't just be below it. You got to make 80% of it or less.
Yes.
Huh. Why even set the benchmark? Why not just make it 80% of 50 and like that's your target?
I don't know.
You got to make it really weird.
Well, it's 80% of 50 if it's a single family, if it's two adults and a child or something like that. It's that's part of it. But anyway, but right, 50, whatever the number, the dollar amount is, it's 80% of the dollar amount for that household is your set eligibility. So basically, if it is 50 and your household makes 47, you're not going to be eligible to get in there. You have to make at or below $40,000 a year. If the 50
That's
is the
before
benchmark.
or after tax too.
I don't know how they calculate all that in. Luckily, I guess I've never had to deal with that kind of paperwork.
What you got there? It's like medicine.
It's a kombucha.
Kombucha.
It is medicine for my guts.
Gut man.
It's got that live bacteria. So yeah. Anyway, that thing's going up, and we should start seeing that project get the ground broken pretty soon on that. All 17 or 6, depending on which road level you're at. Stories of building.
Well, there's something recently with the was it the AJ building?
Yeah, they did some open house thing.
So I know, like the city or whatever, it's pretty much like give them a warning, like you have 30 days to start doing something.
Yeah, or you lose any of the incentives that we put into place. I haven't kept up with that part of the story, but they did do some sort of open house thing where they took people around, and it was like a history in the AJ. And it's some sort of like, I don't know what it was, honestly, other than it sounded kind of neat, but also kind of dumb. Like, so you
go in there and like hammer a nail into something. Like, we did something. Now you can't say we didn't do anything.
But it's like, they're doing a walking tour of a building that's been remodeled like 15 times since its original. And the last functioning thing that was in there was the school board.
Right. If you can picture behind this wall, there's a nice brick.
Right. Which according to Ron McPherson and some other school board people that I've talked to that have spent time in that building, was especially with the IT upgrades they were trying to do in there, where there was just like cables like zip tied to the ceiling, just like miles of Ethernet cable that they'd run through there because
it couldn't go through the ceiling or whatever.
Right, there was some drop ceiling in certain places, but not in others, and they had a bunch of this, that, and the other, and the school board was on to high speed before everybody else was, but it wasn't Wi-Fi everywhere. And so there's just a bunch of stuff where they've had stuff taken in and taken out and all the different technology upgrades over the decades. And so it's just like, and like cubicles and stuff. And it's just like a weird building because it hasn't it was originally built as a hotel.
Yeah.
But it's been a couple of things. And then the school board took it and the school board was in there and then it's office space. And it's like, Mr. Ryswick probably has like an entire hotel room worth of office with his own private bathroom and stuff like that. But I would assume that they were just clearing whole floors out in there and making it like one as big a single room as they could make it and had some cubicles or whatever. I don't think, Cindy from accounting had an entire hotel room to herself.
Right.
Maybe it's a couple people that were splitting rooms. I don't know.
Depends on how big the room was.
Yeah, but again, that was the other thing too. Is like with all the IT stuff, McPherson or somebody, I don't remember who was telling me about it, but like they were just putting holes like above doorways and running cable through holes above doorways, so the room wasn't like sealed off like a normal room would be. They just kind of had like a big like 2-inch PVC pipe that ran through the wall and just had a big hole that went through and all the different cabling and IT stuff that they were trying to run in and out of all these rooms. So they had an easy way to do it. Which again, I don't blame them. It makes sense to me. It's not supposed to be pretty. It's supposed to be functional. So
I mean, there's some things you have to do in a historical building. They're like, no, you can't go through that doorway.
Right. Got to keep this. You got to
can't
change
tear
that.
through that
right.
wall. Right.
So we'll see. The baseball project is on time and ready to go. Merchants of Beer shut down. That's going to get torn down in another 7 or 8 story.
Do what?
Cube. Merchants of Beer, the diner on the corner of the old city.
I thought you were saying emergency beer. I was like,
yeah, Merchants of Beer is no more. The owner of the property sold it, and the new owner is going to build something significant on it. Have you seen the new Cradle of Country Music sculpture park thing?
No, is it already there?
Yeah, they're not complete. It's not completed yet, but
the sculpture up.
Yeah.
So that one look like a big like mushroom or tree or something?
Yeah, except like the rendering just does not do it justice whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like it's colorful. It kind of looks like dragon scales.
Huh.
Like, and apparently, I was talking to Scott about this earlier today. Apparently, this artist has a couple of different ones. I think Texas A&M has one of his installations on it, and this one's very similar to that one, but the A&M one is very drab color-wise. This one is bright. There's oranges and greens and pinks, and it is a bright, colorful thing. And so I don't know. Like you're not going to hear me say that it is worth the money spent on it ever, but it's not as bad as everybody's complaining about it that I've heard.
Yeah.
But the rendering was just like this weird white blob thing.
Yeah, I remember we looked at it and it did look
really
odd.
And it's like, that's stupid looking. But that was literally the kind of guesstimate sort of at the shape it was going to be with no color, no texture. Just it's going to be this weird kind of mushroomy tree canopy interlacing thing. But the rendering had just had it all white.
Yeah.
Where it's actually
it doesn't give it like a warm feeling.
Yeah, it's a bunch of these like they look like a bunch of little tiles, like almost mosaic kind of whatever. But it's like, again, like scales almost is what it looked like as I drove by yesterday. I dropped my sister-in-law off at work. She works down at she was working down on Market Square last night.
Nice.
Dropped her off after she came over and had the ham part of the day with us. And then went to work and had to swing by her place because she brought regular mac and cheese to our event, and she wanted to swing home and get her broccoli mac and cheese that she was taking to her work event. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's that. Trying to think of what else is happening. Apparently, Mr. Timmy Burchett hates Wicked.
The new movie or whatever.
He said you couldn't talk me into getting out of an electric chair to go see that movie. I think that was the tweet or X truth or whatever it is that he put out.
Saying this after like watching the preview?
I don't know. Apparently, like the outrage right is very upset with Ariana Grande for telling the truth about how Wizard of Oz is pretty gay friendly. It always has been.
Oh, did she come out and say that, or is that part of the story?
No, some parts, because when the big movie like this comes out, they do all the press. They go to do the Tonight Show and the Late Shows and all the different shows they go on. Apparently, at one of them, she said something about how Oz is inherently gay friendly, and always has been, and that upset the conservative right.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of art critic Tim Burchett,
they should cancel him.
Yeah, apparently ETSU has an art installation right now that also got.
I did see a story about that.
I mean, I don't know. That one's interesting to me.
I don't know why he chose the speaker though.
Huh?
I don't know why he chose the speaker though.
He chose the speaker. What do you mean?
I think the picture is Johnson, the House Speaker.
Oh, that artist. Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that may.
There's a bunch of different ones, right? Timmy Burchett.
Okay.
But Burchett sent a letter to ETSU.
I saw that. Yeah.
Pitching a fit about it. It's like, I don't know. This was okay. So on the free speech, whatever kind of conversation. I mean, Tim Burchett as a federal House rep Like, if he were to use the authority of his office to shut that down, I would call that censorship. Him using his platform to try to pressure it, it's gray area, but it's that direction.
Right.
But at the same time, a publicly funded university using tax dollars and the people whose responsibility of it is to oversee the use of our tax dollars, having a concern with the use of the tax dollars on an art installation that was basically at least a fuck you to half the federal government, if not, I don't know. That's the other question, because I haven't seen any of the other. There's only 2 pieces that I've seen out of this project. And apparently it's an annual event that they do at ETSU. Okay, let's back up. Let's put some framework into this. I apologize. I don't know how much you've read on it. But I've read a little bit of the companies guys talked about today, among other things.
I just saw one article on it.
Right, and so it's an annual event that ETSU does. Apparently, this kid that was an art student or an art professor or something at ETSU a while back was a very politically engaged artist, got killed in a car accident or something like that. And as a memorial to this person, they do this annual, like, open call for politically active art. Like, it is not just, it's not we're doing a Sunshine and Daisies project. It's we want people who are doing politically oriented art projects that want to submit it to this event. And then they sell the pieces, and the funding, some of the money from the funding of those sold pieces goes into something of the memorial for this guy. I don't know if it's a scholarship fund or whatever. I don't remember what that part was. But this is a regular event. They've done it for years. And so in, I don't know, 2024, when it's a goddamn end of the fucking planet election that we've got, and it's an existential threat to whichever party you're in if the other party wins, and that's what we've been just force-fed for the last 2 years of this campaign process, and you ask for some politically charged art, I don't think it's out of the question that you're going to get somebody that's going to maybe think whatever, not Gary Johnson, that's the Libertarian. Who's the speaker? Mike Johnson might be a Nazi, a Christian Nazi, for that matter, and that's what that one piece is kind of like implying or whatever. And then there's apparently another one that's like it's a Ku Klux Klan hood made out of American flag, speaking on the inherent white nationalistness that is the U.S. system and that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, that doesn't seem like a stretch of something you should expect from an art project that's asking for controversial political art.
Yeah, see, I thought it was just kind of like I think he had some kind of connection to the school, or I thought maybe he was a student or current student. I just thought it was just an exhibit that was going on. I didn't realize it was
there's something
like
about a memorial thing.
Something.
Yeah, there was something memorial about it because the guy's name that's on the exhibit is dead for sure. But I don't know how long ago it started. But anyway, it's not a new thing. Is the point of what I'm getting. This has been an annual event that they've done at ETSU's art facility for years.
Is the school spending money to put this on, or is it paying the artist to display the stuff?
I don't know. It's the ETSU Public Art Museum that's on campus.
Right.
So there's no we could nitpick exactly how the funding works, but at the end of the day, yes, the state of Tennessee is paying for some of it.
Yeah.
Because the state of Tennessee paid to get the building, owns the land, whatever you like. So that's not really there. So I don't know. Like, again, I think if you're going to ask for politically charged art, that's what you should expect, and I don't think that's a problem to do.
Yeah.
Personally, but I could see how if you're part of the apparatus that is supposed to be, paying attention to how the government spends the people's money, if it's an attack on you, you might take that a little personally. I could see that. Now, legally speaking, what can you or can't you do? Because it'd be interesting, like if Burchett demanded they take it down and they do. I don't know if there's lawsuit capabilities from those artists to be like, that's the state of Tennessee or the federal government at that point, if it's Burchett's office, censoring my free speech. Because that is censorship, the state's ability to censor free speech.
Yeah, but I don't know what they could really sue them for unless they lost out on money by them canceling it or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. That's another subplot in conversation.
Right.
Other than to say, I don't know. I thought the Mike Johnson one was kind of cool. I thought it was a cool piece of art. I don't know if I'd spend the $10,000 or whatever that guy wants for it to have it on display in here or anything. But I thought it was kind of, I think it's a little soft. I think it's a little what's the word I'm looking for here? Cliché is not the right word. But I think calling Republicans Nazis is a little cliche at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's a little, or it's a little hyperbolic. Maybe that's a better word. I think there are Christian nationalists, and I don't know if Mike Johnson is one or not. I know the guy that Trump put into Office of Management and Budget. That guy's kind of scary.
Yeah, not familiar.
Yeah, he's a legit Project 2025 guy. So all of my,
I heard there was a few that came in.
All of my opining
like,
about,
he said he's never going to do it.
All my
it's
opining
like,
about how about how Trump is not necessarily 2025. He's certainly going after it. I don't know. There's parts that I'm excited about and interested in. I'm interested to see how Tulsi handles the was it intelligence? Well, I can't remember what the title is.
She Director of National Intelligence?
Yeah. If
she gets confirmed. Because apparently everyone thinks she's a mole or whatever.
Right, which I don't understand that one too. Like, Jesse said that to me the other day. And
I think it was like comments that she had made that seemed like she was kind of.
I mean, back when she was trying to run for president, they made a big stink about her meeting, like seeking out a meeting with somebody, and I can't remember who it was. But but like somebody, I think when she was on Rogan was asking her about it, and she's like, "Yeah, he's a world leader that we have conflict with." And I thought maybe it would be worth talking to him instead of just continuing to third-party fight with him all the time. Gaddafi? Was it Gaddafi?
He died a while back.
Yeah, but it was when she was. It was before she was trying to run for president. It was when she was a rep. It was when she was a federal. When she was the representative from Hawaii. Gotcha. Was when the meeting took place.
So I think Obama was in whenever we went after Gaddafi.
Yeah, but that's when I think I believe that's when she. Yeah. When Obama was president, I don't know if it was the totality of his presidency, but when he was president, she was the representative from the state of Hawaii. Hawaii. And I'm very interested in the RFK thing. Depending on which one of his things he goes really hard at. Some of them I'm down with.
I don't like it.
I like his complete vaccine denialism is a problem. I agree with that. All vaccines cause autism or whatever stupid. That part of it, I don't agree with him on. I think there is value in some vaccines, but I think there is maybe a little bit too much just blind faith in the system. But whatever. But his dietary stuff that he gets all pissed off about, I love it.
Yeah, I saw a couple funny things. There was a photo. I don't know if he actually ate it, but I guess there was a photo of like him sitting down on like Air Force One with Trump and Vance, like eating McDonald's. Apparently, it's one thing he said at one point. He's like, they eat all this junk. He's like, it's terrible.
It was RFK saying the junk food was terrible, or is the
I think like you said, like RFK is all about healthy food, and he's like,
dude's jacked. Have you seen him?
Yeah, he's usually wearing a suit, but I think I've seen him in like a regular shirt. Like, he definitely works out.
But he's like one of the things he gets bent out of shape about is that food pyramid that we grew up on,
right?
Which there's been some adjustment to, but he wants to really wipe that thing off. He was saying, I can't remember what show he was on, but he was talking about how like the list of things that are banned in other countries that we are allowed to put in our food product is like a mile long.
Yeah.
I'm down
with some of that.
Yeah, and that's like if that's what he gets after and goes after, I'll be very excited to see it.
But I know you talked about fluoride. And I think, honestly, there was like a recent study that came out that even like the FDA had like recommended like water treatment places or whatever start testing fluoride levels, that they have found like almost kind of like lead, that long exposures of certain amounts of it. I think they have seen almost like some kind of like cognitive decline that could be attributed to it.
Yeah, and so there's some stuff that I think that has been kind of put like, I don't know. He does suffer from that. There are certain things that he's a little wackadoo on, and so things that aren't so damn wackadoo get kind of classified as wackadoo because it comes out of his mouth.
Right.
But
those who said it? Okay, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, but some of those. But again, like where I don't want to go into a big COVID argument and vaccine argument and lab leak theory bullshit argument on it. But like he was a big proponent and not. Like he doesn't in the way some of the funding works between NIH and some of the facilities and stuff like that, he has a problem with. He thinks there's conflicts there, and maybe we shouldn't have it so that people can make money off of things that they have oversight on, and maybe we shouldn't be doing gain of function research. And
who was gaining?
Do what?
Who was gaining on research?
I didn't. Okay, I don't.
You say it like it happened, so I was just All right, yeah, sorry. Let's not go into it.
Thank you. And so maybe taking some of the apparatus apart that does that automatically. Again, not the gaining part of it. Forget the individuals making any gains of it, but the revolving door that is, you got guys that were Pfizer execs that take appointments to the FDA and keep their stock but don't work at Pfizer anymore, and then leave the position at the FDA and then go right back to Pfizer.
I don't know if they keep their stock, but maybe.
I would be I'd be hard pressed to think if you're a member of the House of Representatives, you don't have to divest your assets. That if you're appointed to a position, you probably won't have to divest your assets either.
I think there's something similar to Congress people that you have to at least like report what you have.
Yeah,
or
maybe.
report when you make trades. I don't know.
Perhaps. Anyway, moral is there's some stuff that I think, depending on which subset of things that animates RFK, I might get excited if he gets animated on. But basically the nutrition one, I think so. I'll be really excited to see how that one rolls out. If he gets onto that one.
He's up as the DHS director, Department of Human Services.
Health and Human, HHS.
HHS.
Yeah. Oh, and then, I don't know, there's some other ones, but I'm trying to remember. That's the first one that came to mind to me.
I heard there was some guy he put up as like the Navy guy, but apparently has like no military record, like whatsoever.
Nice.
Yeah.
Quality.
It's like, I'm going to have you head the
apparently as of
Navy. Sure.
As of a week ago today, Trump had completed his appointments, whether or not they were confirmed, but he had the entire cabinet filled already last week.
I think I read that like last Friday, maybe.
Which he had
Was
like,
that before or after Gates dropped out?
I don't know, but he's already replaced.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he already picked up another AG or picked out another
AG. Yeah. Which apparently Gates is pretty pro weed. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was his buddy. Well, I don't think he ever really got in trouble for it, but it was his friend apparently that held one or helped his friend like get like one of the few licenses. Like with most states, you know, there's only like 10 licenses that they ever allow. But apparently, one of his friends got like one of the first licenses.
Of course, he did.
Well, of course.
But so yeah, AG Gates is not a go. Now the question I have is he gonna, because he technically was just reelected.
I think he said I heard he's not going back.
I haven't heard.
I think once he resigned, I don't think you can rescind your resignation.
Well, but he hadn't been sworn in for his new term. He resigned from his current term.
That's right.
Which the swearing in for his new term is in the next couple of weeks.
Right. Yeah, I thought I read like he wasn't gonna.
I don't know. I have been out of the news loop.
Yeah, I've tried to stay out of it.
For the last, I caught a little bit of news today, finally. But I've done very little news since last week, last Thursday or Friday or so. Listen to Josh Brolin on Rogan. That was my drive out.
I saw he was on there recently.
Yeah.
My roommate tried to get me to watch some other guy that was on there recently. Then I looked him up and I was like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this guy like knows a lot about. He's like, oh, you like to talk about politics and watch stuff on politics or whatever. You should check this guy out. Like, he knows a bunch of like people and whatnot. I'm like, oh, he's a venture capitalist. I'm like,
gotcha.
I was like, never mind. This guy doesn't know anything about like government or shit. Like,
he might. Doesn't mean he doesn't.
He's a big Silicon Valley venture capitalist guy.
Right.
Apparently, he's on the.
I'm just a random small business owner from Knoxville.
Right. Yeah. He's one of the people that are on the big trade of cut out this thing or cut out this department, get rid of that department.
Like, I'll say this: I think it's an issue that.
Or CFPB, I think, was one of his big things. Apparently, that's Elon's big thing now. Get rid of the CFPB.
What is the CFPB?
CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Oh.
Which apparently it's one of those weird agencies. I saw something on it that it's almost like another agency in which it's pretty much like self-funded. I don't think Congress funds it. It's actually funded by, I guess, the fees and the penalties that they levy upon companies that rip off people.
So what happens if they do their job well?
I don't know.
I say if they do their job,
people get their money back. They're
Right.
actually helping consumers that are getting screwed over.
sure, but okay. So they're doing their job, which is going to be a strong negative incentive for companies to continue to defraud people or whatever, right? That's the idea, or is the idea just we're just assuming that people like the only way that sorry, my point is that for the only way that that a self-funded office of that nature could continue to exist would be on the assumption that there will always be fraudulent action, enough fraudulent action to fund itself.
I think that's a pretty easy assumption.
Then why wouldn't it, then if there's that much to fraudulent action that it can require its own funding, then why would you limit it to how much they do? Why wouldn't you just expand it 20-fold so that it can get all the fraudulent action knocked out and make it less of a gamble? Like,
Are you asking me why they don't make themselves bigger and bigger every year to go after more and more people?
well, I mean, if all they have to do, if the assumption, if the baseline is that people are going to be out there defrauding each other and they will have the means to go out and fine and do whatever to pay their bills, then it should be scalable.
Yeah, not necessarily.
If fraud is that rampant.
I mean, you look at the legal system at that kind of like upper level where you're going after corporations. It gets really fucking expensive at that level. To have like investigators that can go through the kind of books and whatnot.
Sure,
to be able
but
to do that.
but if it's not funded externally and it's only funding within itself, then if it's capable of funding itself, it should be capable of funding itself to the maximum level of.
I could be wrong. I think it
of
funds
a legal-
itself for the most part. I think it at least like doesn't ask for a whole lot from Congress every year. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've heard this once, but they
That
equated it to
self-funding
something
part.
else.
That self-funding part has. I could. It doesn't. That's confusing to me. But anyway.
Right. Oh, it was one of the things that I saw that was pushing back on this whole talk of let's get rid of it. It's like this thing funds itself and it's actually helping out.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't cost anything, maybe.
They're just like, oh, that's Elizabeth Warren's thing. Like she still controls it.
But I mean,
It's like she helped found it. She doesn't control it.
But if you're trying to fund it, if you're, it would be very easy to fall into this place where you're.
It goes into the whole anti-regulation thing of
Right.
They think that they get rid of it, business is just going to boom and everybody's going to be so happy.
It might. I don't know.
Sure, maybe. I just think it's a false narrative, I guess.
I mean, I think
or a
we've
false
talked about
assumption.
this. I think trading in securities and stocks and all that kind of stuff's a fucking scam anyway. And to take the protections off for the consumer, which means you play this game at your own risk, would I would hope at least, and this gives this may give undue credit to the general populace, but if you have no protections against something, maybe you'll be a little bit wiser with your investing strategies and who you invest with and how you invest, instead of just going willy-nilly because you think you have some sort of protection.
Say it again now. And what are you referencing that to?
What do you mean? What am I? I don't know what I'm referencing. I'm not referencing to anything. I'm just saying, if there's a risk involved, right? Like that's the whole thing with stocks and trades and all that kind of stuff, and Dogecoin and all these other bullshit whatevers that exist. Is the risk is this might fail and I lose all my money.
All right.
Well, if the risk is I might fail and I might lose all my money is real, instead of, well, I might fail because the thing fails or because I got defrauded from this guy, but I have some protection to get some of my money back or something like that. If there's no backstop, people might be less likely to participate in potentially fraudulent, scammy bullshit.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the stuff that they can go after.
Like, what are they going after then? I guess maybe I'm starting on an assumed premise that is incorrect.
I'm trying to say, like, I think one of the things that I saw was mentioned recently was like, I don't want to say exactly, it might have been like Navy Federal Credit Union or something. They went after like a big bank that was like charging excess fees, and it was something crazy, like tens of like not hundreds of millions of dollars in fees over like a certain period of time that they were able to give back to the people. where it was like fake overdraft fees or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Trevor Wells watching mentioned a couple things where they'd gone after companies that were like obviously, screwing over people.
Okay. I mean, I certainly I certainly could get behind the idea of somebody kind of like, I'm trying to think of how to word this. An agency whom would read the terms of service and make that a palatable thing for the consumer to read and understand.
That's what I was thinking, in kind of like you're investing, almost like every commercial I've ever seen about investing, at least has the fine print or has that guy on the back end.
Investing involves some risk.
Yeah.
Please do so wisely or whatever, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's their out right there. They're like, oh, we said it in the commercial. You can't say that we didn't tell you there was a risk.
Yeah, I just, like, I don't know. That's one of those, like, I feel like, and I think we've talked about this a bit, I feel like the stock market and investing at large is like this weird little, like you said, it's rich man's gambling or whatever, but it's really just like this shell game that is absolutely unconceivable to the average mind, but that we are taught that we should be using as normal people.
I saw something crazy. It was like the bond market. That's like upper level, like 1%er type trading, where you're just buying like big chunks of like bonds and like money or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that, like, the bond market itself is, in comparison to like the general stock market, was something like 70-80% of like, I guess, like monetary movement and whatnot, just because you're dealing with such like large quantities of money with like large bonds or whatever.
Well, there's two functions in the bond market, as I understand it. One is I go out and I buy a bond. Like,
right.
At some point, if they haven't already done it, I might have missed it. The city of the city county sports authority will issue bonds for the as part of the loan for the project. Right. And so, however many they do, 1 million bonds at $10 a piece, they get 10 million bucks, whatever it is.
Right.
You and I can go buy those bonds at $10 a piece, and you put them in a drawer. Most like intelligently, you put them in a safe deposit box or somewhere safe, like a fire safe in your house or whatever. You put those in there, and the maturity date in 15 years, you go turn them into whatever bank that the city county sports authority used to issue those bonds, and you get your money plus the guaranteed return.
Right. But then you've also got, I think if I'm correct, you've also gotten like the bonds basically of how, or I guess that rate being as to what the banks can borrow from the Treasury at. I think was what
Treasury
was
bonds
like
are another one, right?
But Treasury bonds you can buy as a person as well, but I think this has to do with, I guess it was talking about the bond market itself also played into the interest rates as far as what the banks could borrow money from the Treasury, which then that indicates,
right,
kind
because
of like
then you have
there's
a bunch of bond derivatives where it's people that are buying partial bonds and selling them to other people, even though they don't own the bonds. It's just to guarantee that the bond exists on the other side.
Yeah.
And so it's a speculative game. It's because a lot of bonds are basically adjustable rate interests. Like if the economy is doing really well, a bond is going to pay more off at the end than it is if the market is really tight. And so people will trade on the derivative of the bond to try to make a buck today, even though they don't actually hold the bond and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of weird little sub stuff that they do. That's the stuff to me that is the super confusing stuff. But to me, it's just like, okay, you play that game, you lose it all, you lose it all.
Right.
You should.
It's still just a weird, like,
it's just this financialization
valuation.
Yeah,
I mean, they pointed out with like the whole GameStop thing, where you could just kind of like build up the idea of the value of the company being that big, and then they could just
It doesn't change anything.
Buy and sell and just fuck with the market.
Right. It doesn't change anything about GameStop, what they can and can't do, what products they have on their shelf, whether they're a well-run company or not. It has nothing to do with any of that.
Right.
Now, yes, and this is one of the ones where I do get. There is one hard fast that I do get in arguments with. When a lot of people, I do agree that if you get a bailout, you shouldn't be able to use. You should not be able to use public funds as a company to buy back your own stocks.
Yeah.
You should be able to buy back your own stock if you want to, but not with other people's money. And so
Yeah, that bailout's supposed to help you pay off your debts, not
right, or keep right. It's supposed to make sure you can keep payroll running and
Right.
and you can keep ordering supplies to build the products that you build or whatever it is that you do. Not so that, but you should be able to buy back stock because that's where the stock market has functional value in the company itself. If Barbarian Studios, if I went public with Barbarian Studios and I had 100 shares, I keep 75 of those shares for myself. I sell 25 to the general public. And 5 years from now, I want to build a new studio and I need funds to build the new studio. I can borrow against the shares I own, or I could sell 10 of the shares that I do own to the general market and buy the equipment and build the space or do whatever it is I want to do from there. And then a couple of years down the road, after I've done that, I can slowly buy those shares back to keep my ownership percentage up where I want it. As a way to do fundraising, that makes sense to me because that does have a functional difference in the way I can operate my business by the movement of shares. But the GameStop thing, like you're talking about, Enron, all these other ones that we've talked about over the years that are always these big controversial ones, it has nothing to do with the fucking company that's underneath it. It's just this weird idea.
I don't remember much about the Enron thing.
It's just this weird idea because somebody told you it was worth it. Like this Unusual Whales Twitter guy. That's the guy that follows Nancy Pelosi's trades.
I was going to say, I've heard the name.
Literally Nancy Pelosi buys or sells something, it changes the value of the stock because everybody's reacting to what she does. It has nothing to do with what the company is or isn't doing. It's on the assumption that Nancy knows something that we don't know, and that's why she's making the decision. But it doesn't even really matter. If Nancy sells one share of a company and then a bunch of other people sell because Nancy sold, it doesn't matter what initiated it for Pelosi. It's that now all of a sudden 100, 200, 500 people are sharing, or thousands of shares are getting sold. The price drops.
Right, because everybody sees that and they're like, "Oh shit, everybody's selling like somebody knows something's going on."
It could have. It most likely has. Well, actually, the Pelosi one may have something to do with something happening in reality, but it just as realistically could have nothing to do with anything happening in reality with that company.
Right.
But all of a sudden, the value of that company drops to the floor because Nancy sold her shares.
Yeah, it could have just been her financial advisor and been like,
right.
Let's get rid of that stock.
Let's just sell that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with that part of it.
Right.
But everybody gets mad at Elon for doing it because he's done a couple that have been questionable and not fraudulent's not the right word, but just kind of questionable and kind of using his public persona to manipulate the price of his stock. Like he said something about maybe taking Tesla private again, which drove the price up because if it was going to go private again, that's guaranteed sale of your stock if you have one. And so it drove the price of Tesla stock up.
Right.
Now, it's a manipulative action that he did, but it didn't do anything to what Tesla was doing. Had nothing to do with anything about the company other than the CEO and number one shareholder was making some public comments about potential action. Didn't change the way Tesla made their cars. It didn't change the components that were going into the cars. It didn't open a new factory or close a factory in China for them.
They still can't drive themselves.
Right. Nor should they. God,
I agree.
Have you seen the new Google Gemini? This isn't a car.
I've seen the commercials, yeah.
Like, it's literally like, hey, just talk to me.
Yeah. No.
There's another one. It came out that the Pokemon Go was literally built just as a geo-mapping system. They just basically used the public and made money off of the public
to map out places.
To map for just to digitally map the world.
Nice.
And so like every Pokemon Go player, when you're out there and you're checking in and you're chasing whatever, all it's doing is just compiling the massive amounts of data from you and all your other Pokemon Go players and putting it into a system. And now whoever owns all the data for the Pokemon Go app has a pretty damn good map of the entire world. Another one that scares the shit out of me on the technology front recently, Roomba.
All right.
Right. So Roomba they have their automatic vacuums, their little vacuum robots or whatever. So the original versions of them had like lasers and cameras on it, and that's how they figured out where stuff was. And one of the things that somebody had figured out in developing, like the 6th or 10th generation or whatever it was, is that it's hooked up to your home Wi-Fi. And so what they figured out is the camera on the Roomba and your Wi-Fi working together can do basically turns into a radar of your house. with movement, so it can figure out where you are physically in the room, even if you move and stuff like that. And so basically they figured out that you can use Wi-Fi to basically function as a home radar. So with your Wi-Fi, if you know what you're doing, every single thing in your house, you might not be able to see what it is, whether it's a basketball or a soccer ball on a counter, but it can see the ball on the counter without a camera in a radar system just off of your Wi-Fi without the Roomba at all. But so Roombas are now using your home's Wi-Fi as a radar to your house.
How's it using the Wi-Fi signal?
Because the Wi-Fi signal can function like radar.
It detects bounce backs?
I guess.
With the signal?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Wi-Fi works. A lady invented it. Apparently like a movie star lady.
No.
Yeah, like
Not familiar with.
it's not Rita Hayworth, but it's like
Gina Davis?
no, older than that. Betty Garbo or Garbo. No, I don't remember. But it was some lady that was like a super smoking hot 30s actress.
Huh.
She, I wish I remember her name because it's a really cool story. She was like an actress and she's very famous and very good actress for the time or whatever. But during World War II or whatever, she was working with the Navy on radar systems and shit like that. And in working with them developing radar systems, she helped develop the technology that Wi-Fi is based on.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Fun story. Girls can do cool stuff too. Not that there was any. I never doubted that, but that's a fun direct story on the topic.
100%.
So yeah, Pens win. Boom, yeah. 2-1. Beat the Bruins. I love the Bruins losing hockey games. It's one of the teams I like to see lose.
I think they just fired their coach.
Oh, are they bad? That makes me feel less good about that win. Oh well.
I think they were doing bad. I think they were doing, I guess, worse than
well, they are one of those franchises.
how the people expect them to be. Yeah,
they're a high expectation franchise for sure. But yeah, God, that was weird. How do we get onto Wi-Fi radar? Technology scares the shit out of me.
I used to talk about Roombas and stuff.
Oh snap! Georgia Tech up 17-0. Don't sue me, NCAA.
I guess for telling the score at a time.
Well, if it were live, technically, I think we could get in trouble. But this isn't. Actually, no, it's not. Technically,
well, those are on delay anyway.
Well, I don't think that. I technically, I believe yes. The general agreement is any images, descriptions, or recaps of the game without consent.
Huh. I thought there was like some weird thing as far as like commentary, kind of like an end round almost. Like I've seen people doing it on like YouTube. They can get away with like watching stuff and like watching like actual like music videos when they're doing a review of it or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
First listen.
I don't know how that works with sports. I
think it was something like they have to stop like every like 45 seconds or whatever. Like they can't have too much continuous of like copyrighted music.
I know that was one of the funniest things when Rogan went over to Spotify. One of the first episodes when it was one of the episodes where he had a bunch of different comedians on with him. Like I don't remember if it was. I think it was the Sober October guys. I think it was Bert and Tom and Ari Shaffir. It was one of the first times they were all on after he went on to Spotify, and they were hammered. And Rogan's like, I want to hear some Deep Purple. And so since they were with Spotify, they had access to all those libraries, and they weren't breaking any copyright rules anymore. And so young Jamie's over there putting on a bunch of random classic rock music, and they're just like, yeah. It was really funny because it was just, a couple of regular dudes getting hammered, listening to songs with the biggest market of all of the podcast planet on it, but whatever. Yeah, I don't know, but that's pretty surprising though. Georgia is at a specific point in the game. Georgia is losing. More importantly, Georgia scored no points at that specific point in the game, and that's surprising. Let's go Tech.
Oh, Kirby Smart, what's going on?
The pregame in the pregame over there talking about their chances of making the playoff.
Is it that cold there?
I mean, it's cold here right now.
Yeah.
Athens, I don't know. It was 28 in Kansas City today. I was watching the Kansas City Chiefs game. Yeah. Look at this cop over here, like he's going into fucking Baghdad.
Oh, they all wear vests now.
I know. I hate it. I think it's ridiculous.
Oh. Anyway,
Anyway,
I don't think. Why?
do it.
Why?
Is it like And is there any point in his shift today that he is working where he's going to get into that vest and start going into his third or fourth clip that he's got in his belt?
It's a defensive thing. It's not an offensive thing.
But the vest is full of stuff. It's all equipment on the vest. It's not just a vest. Right. It's a carrying vest with armor in it. I don't like the militarization of police departments. I don't like how militarized they look. And to me, all that is just a show of force. It's we have the power to, and we are more powerful than you. Be afraid of me. Now, if you're just wearing a flat vest, sure, that's protective, that's defensive. I'm not going to complain about that. But that he had his,
I think he had like a body cam on.
He had his taser on it, his body cam on it, his flashlight on it that I saw in the clip that we were just watching. But he can do all of that with his standard uniform instead of that SWAT style uniform. There were like 7 troopers standing around him. None of them had vests full of shit on them. It's just the one. I don't like that. I'm sorry. I just don't like that. I don't know how else to interpret that other than it is a show of force. And I don't feel like that's appropriate in most situations with police.
Okay.
Didn't mean to get that out of a football game. So let's see what else is going on. We covered Timmy Burchett's raging on art right now. You want to talk about potatoes?
Sure.
Tell me more about potatoes.
I don't know that much about it.
Well, you shared the story. What was the story about?
There was 2 Canadian companies, 2 American companies that between the 4 of them control 97% of frozen potato market in the U.S.
All right, so let me just because I skimmed through it, but if I'm understanding it correctly, it is.
It gave earnings breakdown of like one of them.
So it's not potato. It's not potato production. It's not farmers. They're not some centralized whatever where potato farmers ship their crap to, and then it's shipped back out as potatoes you pick up on the shelf. This is like Oneida or Orida.
Pretty much, yeah. I think those are like. I think they own some of those companies.
Right. But so it's like your frozen French fries and your hash browns and probably your McDonald's. Right. I think they
have I think they have like pretty much like the frozen market, and then it gets sent down to other people to then process it into hash browns,
right,
fries, etc.
Right. Or probably realistically, it's just they put it in the different bags that have different branding on them, but it's the same. But it's the same frozen potato inside, no matter what the shape is.
Probably, yeah.
But I mean, okay, so 97%, they own 97% of the frozen...
the market share, sorry. 97% of the market share is controlled by those 4 companies.
Right. So in North America, 97% of the frozen potatoes sold come through one of those 4 companies.
Yeah.
Is a way to
and
say
they
that.
were allegedly marking up or inflating their prices by like 47%, allegedly.
So who are the other 3%? They should have been cleaning up at this period.
Not necessarily. Apparently and I want to say it was... I don't know if it was the same thing that happened with the chicken guys to an extent, but I think with this, they were basically using sensitive, or I guess they were sharing sensitive internal data as far as like what their prices were.
Right, which is technically criminal.
Right.
Well, at least I don't know what Canadian law is on it, but
I think there was like a grocery store or something in Pennsylvania, and there was another state that had like filed a lawsuit against either like one or all of the companies.
Okay, so it's alleging that they were colluding basically to fix prices and overcharge customers for the products that they were selling.
I think they gave like a 2-year window. It was like 2021 to 23 or 22 to 24 or something like that.
I mean, it is a fascinating little subset because in a smaller version of that right here in Knoxville is the way beer works. And I don't know if I am alleging, I guess. I don't know it. I've not known of any particular lawsuit that's going to play with it.
But even then, that's distributors,
right? But the local distributors,
right?
It used to be every October. It's moved around the time scale. But this is back when we only had the big 2, Eagle and Cherokee, before Lippman and Best Brands and Athens and a couple of the other ones started getting in the game. But it was literally the same week in October, my Cherokee salesman would come in and my Eagle salesman would come in and hand me an updated catalog with pricing. Mm-hmm. And literally all of the comparables moved identically. So Bud Light and Miller Lite, a case went up $3. on both of them at the same time. On Natty Light and Milwaukee's Best, which were the economy beers, keg price went up $7, whatever it was. But it was exact. A case of Miller Lite, a case of Bud Light were $19.96 a case, went up to $22.37 a case the same week.
Yeah.
Every year. Every year they would come out in the same week, and I would get my updated catalog, and I'd be like, this doesn't seem right to me. How is that not, there's no way that you're doing this without colluding. That doesn't make any sense. How is it possible that you are doing an entire catalog update with the two of them, which are every beer that we had in Knoxville at the time, which, this spans from Rolling Rock to Guinness, and this is pre-craft beer revolution time, but, Killian's and Harp, Heineken, all moving identically. Or all the comparables moving identically, depending on, but from the different distributors at the same time. It's how does this make any sense? Now, I know part of that is because then you have these conglomerate importers on the other side of them. Because Amstel, Heineken, what's the other one I'm thinking of that's in that family?
Beck's, maybe?
Yeah, Beck's and some of those all work to... all
that InBev?
Right, it's InBev now. It wasn't back then, but you have this conglomerate importers of a lot of the import beers would only come. There was only 3 importers that would import all these beers, and presumably they changed their prices, and then it rolls down to Cherokee and Eagle changing their prices locally, and maybe they do that at the same time. So maybe the collusion's actually happening uphill of them.
Possibly.
But even if it is, at some point in that's Molson Coors and InBev on their flagship Bud Light and Miller Lite changing their prices at the same time, whether it's Cherokee and Eagle doing it locally or the parent company's doing it nationally, but it's still happening in a window that seems too small for it to be one reacting to the other. It just seemed like it's. I don't know. Obviously, this is my conjecture across the board here, but it seemed to me like it's happening. It happens too quickly for it to be. Oh well, Miller's raising their price X, Bud Light's doing the same. It's not like somebody at Anheuser-Busch was like, oh, Miller just changed their prices. We got to do ours real quick.
Right, hit the button.
Right.
Cascade the prices downhill.
Right, it's some algorithm that they can quickly do in 5 seconds.
Send out the bat signal.
So, yeah, I don't know. But it does, going back to your Office of Consumer Protection Bureau or whatever, that one always seemed to me there's got to be, it seems very unlikely that this is above board here.
Right.
But it's always been that way, and it still is as far as I know. It's changed a little bit because the craft beer revolution really changed the beer industry and its ability to... It used to be a lot more static than it is now. It's a lot more fluid because there's so many new brewers and stuff coming in and out.
A lot of them
all the time.
Bought out by the bigger ones.
Right. Once you get good enough, one of the big boys will buy you. Yeah. Which is the goal. I would love to be in that position if I were doing it. Wicked Weed a couple years ago got bought by InBev.
Yeah, buy me out, sure.
A bunch of people are all pissed off. Wicked Weed, you're so cool and independent. Why are you going to do that? It's do you see how many zeros are on this check?
Right.
Do you know how hard it was to get me to where I am? I don't want to keep doing this the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'm going to take all those zeros and get the fuck out of Asheville, which was probably a really good move, all things considered now.
Well, and also kind of once you get bigger, you either kind of join them or they're going to be all right, we're going to start fighting against you now.
Yeah.
So it's you either let us buy you or let us destroy you.
And I think with the crowd, or it's not even let us destroy you, it's let the industry destroy you, whether we do it or not. There's so many players now that it's got to be hard. You've got to either have a lot of money behind you to get the volume and visibility up for you to get into a regional, or you've got to lean into that micro, brew pub, and that's you only get the beer here. But there's a big chunk of no man's land in the middle that a lot of breweries are finding themselves stuck in. I think Fanatic fell into that hole. Elst fell into that hole. What's the other one that's where Yeehaw is now that used to be there? Elkmont Brewery fell into that hole.
Were they doing their own beers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they tried to get out of being a only self-serve brewery into the market, and they had a lot of money behind them because the guys that ran Elkmont had some serious cash, but they couldn't consistently put out quality product fast enough to stay on grocery store shelves and keep their brew pub well stocked. And then they just started having problems. And then once that happened, they just fell off a cliff. Spent a ton of money on that building and then just vacated too. Sucks. But anyway, back to potatoes. Sorry.
Hopefully they were able to clear bankruptcy and get all their money back.
You don't get your money back. You just don't owe people money anymore.
True. You could just wipe your debt away.
Well, I mean, you don't get your money back.
All your other creditors don't get their money back either, do they?
No. Well, depending on what style of bankruptcy you file, you might get portions of your money back.
I don't know. I get it on the personal level. I don't really care for as much on the business side.
A lot of them, it's you're restructuring the debt, and so a lot of times a third party will come in and pay off all the
buy out your debt or whatever. So basically, they own you now.
Well, all the people that you owe money to will get a good chunk of their money back from the third party, and then now you have a payment plan with this new third party that's going to help you get back on your feet, or you fail there, and those people file bankruptcy on your bankruptcy, and then I don't know how they do it.
The collections gets really weird because you end up like selling, or the collections agency ended up like selling to another collection agency. Like then your debt gets sold to another collection agency.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy.
But they buy 100% of your debt for a quarter of the value, and then try to collect 90%.
Right.
And if they only collect 50%, they still win.
Right.
And then if they give up and sell, like they'll give up and sell, that 100% of your debt to another collection agency for 23% and really only lose 2% in that exchange. And then that other collection agency will try their game for a while.
It's fun for your debtors. Like, so who's got the money that I'm supposed to be collecting from who?
Right.
Who's got the money? This other guy?
Right. Well, it makes it really hard on the state when the state permits a bankruptcy and they have to go through and figure out who you actually owe money to.
Right.
Because the debt's been sold 5 times. Right. I mean, it's like mortgages nowadays. Now, I don't know if that's changed since, but I mean, hell, my house, our mortgage, the company who owned our mortgage changed 3 times in the first year.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. Yeah.
But it's whatever. I guess it didn't change anything for me. But
just tell me where to send the check.
Right. Just tell me where to send the check and make sure that when I send all 650 of these checks that you give me the deed and get the fuck out.
Right.
Apparently that's a scam going around. Did I tell you about that? I got my deed.
So.
Like there's a scam going around. People are the scam is they go to the clerk's office and they buy a copy of your deed and they send it to you with some paperwork saying there was an error in the whatever. It's kind of a send us a check for X and we'll clean up this error and you have your deed
and you just keep your deed.
Yeah.
Is it even on like nice cardstock or anything?
No, I mean it's well, the weird thing about it is like I guess when you buy a copy, they emboss it.
Huh.
Like is where I like because it was that's what freaked me out about it. Is it was a very good copy because it looked like it was my signature, but it didn't look like it looked like it was my signature, not a copy of my signature.
Right.
Like it looked like it was the actual page that I put pen to. Like I actually called my friend who was my mortgage broker for that, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, I'm pretty sure this is the piece of paper you handed to me." She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like I signed, where I signed it. It's in it looks like it's the piece of paper my pen touched, not a copy of the piece of paper. And then in the bottom corner of that piece of paper is your guys' embossed stamp thing from your in-house
finances or whatever.
Yeah, from your little thing. And so it's like you could feel the texture of it. It's not a picture, because if you copy something that's got one of those stamps on it, you can kind of see it, but you certainly can't feel the texture of it. And I was like, this thing looks legit. And I guess I'm at this point where I don't trust anything that comes in the mail anymore. And luckily, gladly, I pat myself on the back for one of the reasons that I really like working with people that I know on stuff like this, even if it costs me more. It's been 10 years, and I just called the person up personally and said, "Hey, what the fuck is this?" And then they're making phone calls with their boss, and she doesn't even work there anymore, but she called her friend who still works there, and it's like, "Do you know anything about this?" And then it went around their office for a little while, got back to her, got back to me, and she's like, "Yeah, that's a scam, but that's scary. And I was like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's all sorts of very sophisticated scams out there.
So anyway, potatoes.
Potatoes. Yeah, the chicken thing was similar too. It was pretty much like the four major companies that colluded to set chicken prices.
Yeah, that I don't know. Like,
so again, I think that kind of goes back to the conversation of like inflation and whatnot. Like I think it's unfounded for people to say like there isn't corporate greed out there and or what was the other not shrinkflation. Them just actually inflating the prices,
right?
Kind of in the guise because everyone. Well, yeah, I thought there was a different name for it, but basically raising prices because everyone expected prices to be high.
Yeah, that's just inflation. That's just inflation. Shrinkflation is when you get this, you pay the same, but it's a smaller portion of whatever it is you're buying.
Can't think of the word I'm looking for.
Because it used to be, you couldn't get you got bacon by the pound. Like you'd go to the store and it was always a 1 pound pack of bacon.
Right.
Now they're 12-ounce packs of bacon, and they're $6, where it used to be you get a pound for $6.
Right.
So the price technically it's still inflation because the price per ounce went up, but the price per pack stayed the same. But the packs are smaller, so that's shrinkflation.
I know what shrinkflation is.
I think it's...
I guess it was just corporate greed that most people were throwing around when they were trying to point fingers at companies as well, that it wasn't just
I'd be interested.
Market forces.
I'd be interested if, as a grocery store or whatever, as a retailer of sorts, that if you made it a thing when one of your major venues goes through a shrinkflation process, where like Frito-Lay comes in and their bags get smaller but the price stays the same, if you advertise that as a, hey, customers, we just want to let you guys know, Frito-Lay changed their prices or kept their prices the same, but they shrunk their bags. Like as a service to your customers, because I would see that as a service as a customer, if that would be a net benefit to you as a grocer. Or Frito-Lay be like, you know what? You don't get Frito-Lay chips anymore.
Yeah, I was about to say, they could just cut you out of it.
Welcome to Aldi, bitches.
Right.
I don't know. If I was like, I don't know. Like, I think that's, I would see that as a customer. I would see that as a net positive. But would I continue to shop there because they don't have the products I want? Would I respect their honesty in that situation enough to continue to shop there despite them not having the product that they want anymore?
I think some people would be endeared to it, but I would think for the most part people are still just going to be like, how much is this? How much is that? Okay, I'll buy it here. Oh, it's cheaper over there. Well, maybe I'll go over there. For people that do shop around. I don't do a whole bunch of shopping
you said do. But even that, though, I'm just saying, like, if it's a particular product that has a substitute, that you have a substitute.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. It's interesting. I don't know. I'll think about that. Maybe I should get into the grocery business. I think if you were like a Kroger app or something like that, like as a notification when you're on, like, I'd be curious to know that. I need to find somebody at Kroger.
Well, that's a story I was reading today that was kind of talking about Black Friday sales and just kind of sales in general of the whole new like surge pricing and what was the other term they had?
Peak pricing?
Something like that.
Where the busier times they charge more?
Yeah.
Like Wendy's was going to do that apparently.
Oh, yeah, one was when they were busier, and then another one was actually based upon like demand, or that it was like it could fluctuate, I guess, throughout the day or
right
day to day, depending on supply of it, demand of it, which price should be similarly according to.
I mean, I don't know. I'd be curious how that would work long term with people. I mean, because like
I'm seeing it in some places where they have like a little digital like price tag or whatever on the
Walmart's
thing.
got them. A lot of Walmart's have them. I mean, that's part of that's just because it's a pain in the dick to change price tags at a grocery store because there's so many of them.
Exactly.
But like Target does them too. The Target ones work off their lights. The original version of them did. The new ones are Wi-Fi or something like that. But the original version of them, they would send a frequency through their fluorescent lights that was undetectable to me and you. But the sensor on them would pick it up, and that would be that would
change the
generate
price.
the update. Because like each one is a number. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Is a neat thing. Because like part of it makes like some of it makes sense to me. Like surge pricing, where okay, it's busier now. It costs me more as a business The perfect example being a restaurant with like lunch. If I charge more during that 1 hour window where most people are eating lunch in an attempt to encourage people to spread it out, because the hardest thing about a restaurant is labor, because to get through a lunch hour, you have to have 20 people there, but to get through an entire day shift, you don't need those 20 people from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You only really need them for that 1.5, 2 hours, maybe with a little bit of prep or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so if you can figure out a way to spread the same volume of customers out over the 6-hour window that you have employees and only have 8 people on, you can get away with, having it would technically be an overall cheaper retail price because you're forcing people not to shop at the expensive time. Or if they insist on shopping at that expensive time, you're getting extra revenue to offset the extra staff you have. It makes sense, logically, except that's you're trying to manipulate the consumer into shopping the way you want them to.
Well, I'm cool with that. As long as like Kroger and other places will go back to being open 24 hours and let me go shopping at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll do it to save a few bucks.
See, I
used to love doing that. My pajamas. There was like me and like 4 other customers in there. It was awesome.
Except for that one time, the dude that the Fellini Kroger, that dude got caught shoplifting steaks, and all the staff knew him by name. I've told that story 1,000 times.
I don't remember that one.
It was me and the missus. We were at that Kroger.
Right.
It was right when the use scans started becoming normal for their overnight. Yeah. So they only had the use scans. They didn't have any registers running, and we shopped there enough that the guy that worked, he actually still works there at that Kroger. He doesn't work the third shift there anymore, but where we were in there enough, and we chat him up a little bit while we were checking out or whatever, and that we were chatting. This guy runs right past us, and then him and one of the other employees come running after him, yelling his name at him, and.
Billy Bob, don't do it.
Right, we're still checking out. Like, what the fuck? That was crazy. We're still checking out, doing that whole thing, and then he comes back in. He's all panting, sweating. It's like, man, what was that? He's like, oh, dude, steals steaks from us all the time. I was like, you know him by name? He's like, yeah. And he's, I guess policy was they weren't allowed to. They didn't ban him from the premises. So like when he'd walk in, they just follow him around.
That's weird.
They wouldn't. They weren't allowed to not let him in, or maybe because it's late at night, they didn't see him come in. But as soon as they'd see him, he's like, as soon as we'd see him, we start following him around. We're either watching him on the camera system or somebody is physically walking around following him around the store.
Yeah, somebody told me there was something like the major grocery stores that now have like facial recognition software with people that have been like trespassed, to where like their cameras will pick them up when they walk in, so they can have loss prevention go over and be like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. You need to leave.
Yeah.
Where for some of them, like get put on like a list where like
the retailer in me loves that. The privacy person that I am hates it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Facial recognition thing's weird, but I mean, I could see it. If you're caught stealing from Walmart 2 or 3 times, like, now you can't go to any Walmarts. Like, good job.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying you don't deserve it or whatever, but
right.
but if that facial recognition is scanning to find that guy, it's scanning you and me and anybody else that walks in that door.
Right. And
yes, it's private property and they can do what they want on it, but I have a right to, I have a right to like, because Walmart's metadata system doesn't have the right to I don't know. I guess they do have the right, but I object to them collecting data on me when I come in and out.
Right.
Because I am not a criminal and I don't have a record. And you can tell me all you want to that we only use it for them. I don't believe you.
That's the thing with like the targeted data stuff.
Yeah.
That picks up on your location. We'll start getting like, Walmart coupons and shit.
Yeah. I don't like that stuff. Same thing like we have like here in Tennessee, we've got the license, all these license plate readers that are stagnant cameras, and a number of cruisers have them in their cars now.
Yeah.
Well, it's only so if this, that, and the other. It's like, no. You could say all you want about that's the only reason you want to have it or the only reason you're going to use it, but when the need arises, you'll use it for whatever the fuck you want to. And you'll make whatever excuse you can.
I mean, it speeds up something they could already do. I mean, they've got the computer system.
No, this new
one.
So
they could type in, they could type in your license plate number and pull up the same information that your license plate reader does.
No, that's not what this new system does. This new system literally is, okay, we've got an APB out for Sam.
Oh, that's right.
We're looking for Sam, and it is actively reading plates off of like these readers are on like light poles and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's actively reading plates, and what the other part that's gross about the Tennessee one to me is it's not even just a license plate reader. It's just a general runs AI on what it sees, and so it's a red Mazda whatever, and with like it's a red Mazda with the Tennessee plate ending 426. So it's looking for license plates that end 426. It's looking for red Mazdas. And everyone it sees, it'll pop up.
That far?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be specific to. It doesn't have to be specific to an individual car or plate. It could be like this is what they were bragging about it when they were talking about it on the news. Like it doesn't have to be. So if we have a guy who doesn't have a license plate on his pickup truck and it's like a yellow pickup truck with a dent in the rear left fender, we can put that into the system and it can track it around town. If one of the cameras sees it, it'll tell us where it is and tell us which way they're going, and we can go find it. It's like that's just general surveillance state stuff at work, and we're proud of that. Speaking of surveillance state stuff, the TBI is asking is planning on asking the state legislature in this upcoming session for permission to run a pilot program in Knox County on testing wastewater for drug use.
Where'd you hear that story?
Did you tell me about that story?
I sent you that story.
Okay. I can't remember. I get all sorts of people send me all sorts of random stuff.
Yeah.
That's fucking gross. Not only
I think I don't think I've seen it on the local news. I think that was one I saw on like the Nashville one.
Yeah, that bothers me. Now it said in the story that it's not like they can go to house. They can't identify an individual household. They just know it's a house or a group of houses in a certain neighborhood, depending on their collection point.
Right.
Or schools or whatever. And I guess like schools for that matter, I don't know. Like if you're a teacher, I'd be a little upset about that.
Why?
You're a teacher that likes to smoke weed in the evenings?
I wouldn't be able to trace it back to you. It's just
They're
in
just
the
at
school
the
system.
school. And so if the school has if they test the school and there's a high percentage, if there's whatever they consider a high percentage, they will have they get talks about inflicting is not the right word, I apologize, but instituting education and what was the other word they used in there?
I don't remember.
It was like education and abatement programs if they detect a high level of use at a certain school.
Yeah.
Now,
I know they started putting like sensors in the bathrooms to detect like
vaping.
Yeah, vaping and stuff.
Good.
I guess like just acts like any kind of nicotine, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not.
We were in high school. Like the one bathroom in like the main area, like always smelled like a cigarette, no matter what time of the day you went in there. Like I don't know how the hell they were smoking cigarettes in there so often.
Yeah.
I was never that bold. I'm like, this is fucking stupid. I smell like a cigarette just by going in there.
Yeah. That was your defense. I was in the bathroom. Of course, I smell like cigarettes.
I did it walking up and down the hill only a few times though.
I did too. I got caught once. Coach K smelled my fingers.
Yeah.
That guy. That's a fun. Like,
I mean, I used to walk around with cigarettes. I wouldn't walk around with cigarettes on me. I think I had them in my bag half the time, or I'd store them in like my trumpet case or whatever.
Yeah, I always had them in the drum cabinet.
Yeah.
That's where I kept mine. But anyway, the Coach K story. That'd be a fun story to go back and try to catch some history on that.
I've heard a few stories about him.
I mean, he was celebrated for being so fucking abusive, and then he got fired for it.
Yeah. Oh, I think that was like unwanted touching or something.
Oh. Was it a girls thing? Was he touching girls?
I think he was hugging them, and I think someone was finally like, I don't like him hugging on me.
I was not like the funniest thing to me. I mean, he was the one that caught me smoking. Whatever. It was just always funny to me and very hypocritical. Although it's not untrue. I know I broke rules and stuff like that, and the punishment I got was appropriate for the rules I broke or whatever. But I always thought it was funny to me is that like his story about how Dip saved his life.
Yeah.
And he's busting me for smoking. It's just like, come on, man. You go around bragging about the fact that your very unhealthy dip habit saved you from drowning, basically.
It's like, yeah, but I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, but if you didn't do it then, you'd be dead, and you wouldn't be busting me for smoking, bro.
Right.
What the fuck? He was a character. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure how I feel about that in hindsight. Like, if that upsets me, if I feel like somebody dropped the ball in letting that guy be around students.
I thought it was odd that he was a teacher. Because he did definitely seem a little off in the head. Because I think there was a certain amount of time that he was like without oxygen in that car accident. Where the tobacco chaw saved his life.
Right.
I remember like anytime when somebody come in late, it was just like, I told you not to be late, so that's insubordination, and would just like send you to the office. It's like, okay. I'm surprised like the office didn't sit down and be like, Coach K, you got to stop sending people down here for just coming into class late.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Like they're like yeah. I have questions about what kind of.
I don't think he was ever a teacher. Like I think the only thing I would quote unquote taught to him was like the CPR class he did for like a week.
Yeah.
In like our wellness class.
Yeah. I do remember taking that.
I think that was the only time I ever saw him. I don't think he really
He
taught any other classes.
He was an assistant football coach.
Yeah.
I don't know what his actual job title was. That's a good question. Again,
I don't think he actually like taught any classes like some of the other coaches.
Yeah, because I know that our head football coach was the like geometry teacher. Like he taught real math, not just like soft math. Like,
but it still seemed like he was reading like one chapter ahead of us half the time.
Whatever, we got through the class. We got what we needed, and we had a good coach for whatever. I don't know what they. But anyway, yeah, Coach K was a thing. I don't even know what to say about him other than I'm not sure that guy should have been on campus, period.
I think he went to another school after us, and I think maybe that's where he got in trouble.
I don't know.
This is all rumors. I don't know.
The old one is wanting to go there. He's wanting me to see if I can't figure out how to transfer him to Bearden. He wants to go to Bearden. He doesn't want to go to West.
Why?
No.
I don't think it's too hard to get transfers. That's why I don't get the whole like, school choice. Like, unless the school is overcrowded, like you can put in for a request, and I think as long as it's reasonable, the county will give it to you.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, hey, I'm equal distance. One school's not more overcrowded than the other.
I'm actually closer to the one that I'm not zoned for.
All right.
By a goodly sum. I mean, there's kids that live closer to the school we're zoned for that are zoned for Bearden.
Right.
Because I think it's either Nubbin Ridge or Westland's the line now. On that side of Westland, so like Morrell and Westland, I think is so that whole neighborhood that we had a bunch of friends in high school. That the Tools mom at least house. See, I don't know if your mom's house is still Bearden or not. I'm curious. Like I don't know where the line goes that way.
Not sure.
Yeah, like I feel like Morrell would be the logical line, but it definitely comes down and parts of North Shore at least are west.
And you don't go too far down your zone for 'cause when we first moved here, I think it might have been Rocky Hill. The people there were like, "Yeah, I think for middle school, you guys might be zoned Farragut." So I think we may have even gone to like try to go to Farragut for like my first day, and they're like, "No, you guys are zoned Bearden."
Yeah, it's weird. Like my parents' house was when that neighborhood was built, it was initially zoned for Farragut. And before that neighborhood was completed, like 3 other developments had popped up on the other side of Pillissippi. And so they pushed that development back into Bearden, which totally makes sense. But because I remember all my friends, because my mom said, "You're going to Farragut High School." And all my friends in Wisconsin were like, "You're going to Farragut High School." That was one of the funniest things to me. Like, looking back on that move, the amount of like stereotypical Southern jokes
Really?
that my friends made about me moving down here, and then the amount of like Midwestern hick jokes that the kids I met down here made about where I came from were like almost identical. Like, you guys have, like, does everybody have satellite TV up there? It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, you guys live like 10 miles away from each other. Like, there's no houses or whatever. It's like, no, I live in a fucking neighborhood just like the one I live in here. You guys wear shoes around? Like, that was one both ways. You guys wear shoes? Yes.
You guys don't ice skate everywhere?
Yeah, but up there or down here, like, do they even wear shoes in Tennessee? I think so. I don't know. I'll let you know when I get there.
Yeah. Do they give you snuff when you cross the border?
Oh.
Everybody gets to grow tobacco, right? And kind of like Alaska, like everybody gets tobacco proceeds down there.
All right. Are you allowed to keep all your teeth when you get there? They take one out when you get there just to get you to match all your friends? I don't know, like stuff like that.
How many 6-packs of Mountain Dew do you get a week?
Now that one might be true. Actually, that's not fair. One of my very good friends that when I was up there, like he had a fridge in his garage that always had Mountain Dew in it.
Yeah.
And then I had a friend down here whose garage, his mom always had Mountain Dew in the fridge in their garage.
Yeah. Do the do.
Indeed. So, I don't know. We got all over the place tonight. That was fun. We still got a little bit more to go. Trying to think what else I missed in the locals. Like, these holiday weeks make things a little wonky in the local schedule. on what's happening.
I'm trying to think if I heard anything else interesting.
Oh, if you're homeless, the warming centers are going to be open this weekend. It's supposed to get stupid cold. Apparently, Knox County Schools, or State of Tennessee, does their annual big test breakdowns, and there's like award schools and priority schools, which is the nice way of saying schools that suck on their tests. Which, for the most part, if you go down the list, it breaks down exactly what you'd expect. The schools that are surrounded by poor neighborhoods suck, and the schools that are surrounded by rich neighborhoods are doing great. So
the vouchers are going to help that. It's going to fix it all.
Yeah, I mean that's the promise, I suppose.
Yeah. Because you get those lower income families, you give them a $600 check, they're going to be able to go to any school they want to now.
I mean, it's like a $7,000 check, but
per year.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that much.
Yeah. It's about what it's based on what the state spends per student at public schools.
Right.
But we'll see.
It'll be interesting. I don't see how they're going to build so many new schools to even try to start this. Of people that want to escape the public school system.
It's going to take a decade. Like that's the thing about this whole voucher thing, and this is what we don't like. If anybody's honest about it, Jennifer Owens, I love you, but I don't know. I don't agree.
Other states have had it for a few years, and I think for the most part, what they've seen is what a lot of people has expected. That most of those checks go to benefit middle to upper income people to help offset costs of going to private schools.
The theory is that over time, more schools would come in to fill gaps because there's profitability in it. More private schools will come on board. More not charter schools, just more private schools. More alternative to public school options will come in. Because there's market for it. Right. Because there's more potential customers when all customers have a $7,000 plus allowance to spend on you. You have more potential customers. So if you want to start a small school, you have way better chance of getting off the ground with a small school when all of your customers have money to spend, as opposed to when only 10% of them have money to spend. And that 10% that has the money to spend wants some super high-end thing. That's the question to me: is anybody going to try a medium market school? Like it's like it's not a bunch of bells and whistles. It's not this high-end private school that you guys are all used to seeing. This is very minimalist. Like we're going to really teach them the things, but we don't have a really nice campus facility. We use a strip mall warehouse space or something like that as our campus. We don't have the auxiliary programs like athletics and stuff like that as part of it because that's not in the budget. Is anybody going to try to fill that gap where the education is good and solid and the information and the curriculum is good and solid and it's well-valued education in play, but it doesn't have all that other shit?
That's what I kind of wonder, like what kind of accreditation I could see it becoming an issue like it's happened in other states that have tried to have like little schools that pop up in like kind of like rural areas. Like most of the kind of bad stories I've seen came out of like Louisiana, where like these weird like little parish schools popped up and these people, went there for basically, middle school and high school and then get out and they're like, they try to go somewhere else and they're like, you went to what school? They're like, we don't even know what kind of school that is. Like where they basically they try to go to college and none of their credits pretty much like transferred as like anything that equated to anything that anybody else recognized.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the other side.
Like, well, they told me that was a legit school. Like, what the hell? You mean they tell me they didn't teach me anything? Pretty much.
I don't know. Like, what is like?
Well, they taught them basic stuff, but I mean, it wasn't.
But like homeschool kids go to college. What do they put on there? They check a box that says they go into homeschool.
Yeah.
On their application. Yeah. Like, why would a college look at a homeschool applicant different from a unaccredited private school? I would think that would be the if I were an admissions officer, I think that would be my assumption. Oh, I don't know what school this is. Oh, it's a small private school in whatever parish.
Right.
I think you would. I would think you would treat that, like you would treat a homeschool student.
No, I'm assuming it's different.
I don't know. That would be my thoughts on it. Like,
or maybe it was people that gone through middle school at a school like that, then try to go to a high school, and they're like, wait, no, you didn't learn anything.
Yeah, I don't know. That's it. It does open many doors for that kind of weirdness. I agree, but I don't know. I think, I agree with the premise that in red states, Tennessee included, the state legislature is intentionally trying to break the public school system. They're trying to, like, they're I can't remember what the phrasing was, but it was basically something along the lines of we're making a solution to a problem that doesn't exist, so we're making the problem exist.
Yeah.
Like, we want the solution to the problem that doesn't yet exist, so we're going to do all we can to make the problem exist.
It's a manufactured problem.
Right. And it's not even a manufactured problem when the solution comes out, but they're going to they have the ability to manufacture the problem by cutting funding, changing regulations on public schools, spending all this fucking time and this is the one that I think is the grossest one. All this time and energy that these hard right groups are using on discrediting public schools through, like, Moms for Liberty bullshit and all this trans activism, anti-trans activism stuff that they're doing in school board, distracting from anything positive that the schools could possibly be doing as part of the apparatus to break down public schools, just drives me nuts. Yeah. It's like, if public schools suck, okay, I could get on board with the conversation about public schools might actually suck. But if you're going to tell me it's because they have a trans bathroom policy, I'm not going to give a shit.
Right.
If it's because, I don't know, my kids are graduating from 5th grade and they can't do 10 plus 10 quickly, then we could talk about schools sucking.
Right.
But, if it's not an education problem that you're saying the schools exist with, then I don't really want to hear about it.
I haven't really looked at statistics, but I think going back decades, you've always had like a certain percentage of the school system that just underperforms for whatever reason.
And one of the things that's most interesting, if you get good surveys out there on it, 99%, like, there's 99 is an overstatement. A majority of people think that the school systems are having problems, but it's never their kids' schools. It's like, in the surveys, they're like, do you think Knox County Schools is doing a good job? No. Do you think the school that your kids are going to are doing a good job? Yes.
No.
Like, over and over again, across counties and municipalities and stuff like that. I guess part of the problem is that's a little bit of a biased survey, because the people who are willing to do a survey for the schools are probably pretty pro their school. They're pretty active in their school to get access to said survey. I don't know how you're going to go out and find people to take this survey that aren't active in the schools. And if you're active in the schools, you're going to think they're doing well, because it's part of what you do.
Well, and if you're upset, you're more likely to respond.
Right.
Unless if you were kind of like, I'm okay, or the school's doing great, you're less likely to respond to a survey like that.
See, but that's counterintuitive to what the surveys are saying, though. That's my point. It's not pissed off parents that are responding to the survey saying Knox County Schools sucks and Rocky Hill Schools suck. It's Knox County Schools suck, but Rocky Hill's great.
Right.
And it's like, well, if you're pissed off at the school system, I think it would start at your own school.
I guess just people having that general premise of school system sucking, or being upset at anything, that more people are likely to respond to a survey.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Being in an upstate manner versus
when it gets into a specific of what upsets you about it, it's never direct to you. It's always it's always peripheral and what you think you know, and we were told about this, that, and the other.
Right. It's always the other. It's never something close to me.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's pretty. I don't know. It's got to be the top topic, and my intent is to make sure that the argument over voucher stuff doesn't distract from other things that the state does. This TBI one being one that I'm really upset about. It is on my list of things. Next time I talk to Becky and Elaine, I'm going to be like, "Here's my list." Like, I'm going to give them a list. I'm like, if this is happening, you're saying no to it, please.
Oh, is Miss Davis talking to you now?
No, but I'm going to email it to her anyway. I'll call Eric and try to get Eric to talk to her for me. Right. Eric's probably on board. Eric's fucking, I don't know. I need to talk to Eric. I just need to call him. He won't come on the show, and I don't blame him. But like, I don't like. I commend his ability to play the game. Like, I respect his ability and the way he plays the game. I get it, but I don't like this game. And I understand that it is a game, but I hate the game mentality. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it is a game. It's absolutely a game, and I don't know. I met the dude, seemed all right. I doubt he gives a shit about trans issues and gay rights and stuff like that. He just knows that that's an animating thing, and so he's getting his current candidates to get people he wants to run against in future elections to go on the record saying they don't want to protect children, so that he can make a flyer in the next election cycle that says this person doesn't care about kids. Here's my stat point.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but that's not accurate. Like, it's just, I get it, and it's a game, and this is how you get your people to win elections, but you're not helping anybody, and you're distracting from any possibility of anything positive getting done because we're too busy getting a point for the next cycle. And how does the point for the next cycle get us anywhere positive? What is your set of people going to do that's an actual
activated people to get out, and that's all they really wanted at the time.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like I said, it's the game. He's playing the game, and he's playing the game well.
Right.
As the classic hip hop tune goes, "Don't hate the player, hate the game." So, after you get that sip of whatever it is you're beveraging on, I hit the wrong button. God damn it! This is what happens when we take a week off, people. I still don't label my buttons. Let's get weird, my friend. Get weird.
So that was pretty crazy.
Crazy story.
3,000 fake Gibson guitars seized at L.A. port.
Speaking of fake Gibson guitars, you see Trump's faux Les Paul that he put out?
I think I heard something about it.
I want to go. You want to go? Let's go to the Trump Supercenter.
No, thank you.
Come on, I just want to check it out. We don't have to buy anything.
Maybe.
I just kind of want to see. I can't imagine you have a whole Supercenter full of stuff. I can. But I can't, the shoes were special edition. They can't have the shoes, can they? There's no way. Anyway, seize Les Paul. Sorry.
I was trying to find, let's see here. They would have been worth $18 million.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, if they were real, but it was fake.
How many were there?
3,000.
And they were 3,000 some sort of special editions they have to be.
Let's see here.
What's the math on that? How many $1 million?
Had the guitars been authentic, they would have been worth $18 million. What's the what?
Hold on, I'm doing the math here. 18 million divided by 3,000 would be $500,000 a guitar. No, is that right? 500,000 per, or 50,000 per guitar.
Where's your calculator?
18
6 zeros.
Million divided by 30. 1, 2, 3. No. 18. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. What? 3,000 or 30,000 guitars?
3,000. It says more than 3,000, but we can just do
18 million divided by 3,000. $6,000 a guitar. Okay, that's not all right. Never mind, my math sucks.
Let's see here. I don't know if you saw this. It was pretty crazy. You ever see the artwork that was just a banana that was like duct taped?
I've heard the story, yeah.
That was the art installation. Apparently the person that bought it was a cryptocurrency entrepreneur who bought that for $6.2 million, and he ate the fruit. Which I would have thought by now would have been bad, but...
I mean, that's a pretty baller move.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a baller-ass move.
Like, hey, everybody, it's $6.2 million. Nom, nom, nom. That's good.
The fact that your job title is crypto entrepreneur is a symptom of the rot that is the economy of this nation. But that is a baller-ass move. Like, that's something that I could imagine P. Diddy doing between beating up his talent and raping girls or whatever he did in his spare time. Allegedly.
Yeah, see, he said, it tastes much better than other bananas, indeed. Quite good.
I mean, that is fucking baller. That's real baller. I'm kind of jealous.
Let's see here.
I mean, I want to get to the point where I'm lighting a cigar with a $100 bill just one time, and I don't feel weird about it.
Oh, what the fuck? Bah humbug. World's oldest... Oh, never mind.
World's oldest Santa Claus dies today?
It's got like a weird link. I'm clicking on a different story, but it's pulling up a different story. I was trying to pull up Vandal smashes Ebenezer Scrooge's tombstone used in a Christmas Carol movie.
Oh, that's fucking bullshit, man.
But it was pulling up the story of the world's oldest man died in England at 112.
Yeah. I want to know more about the Ebenezer Scrooge one.
I know, but it's pulling up the
I do have the Home Alone is on the to-do list for me for the official season is starting. That's my favorite. Like, that's a standard in my... That's how I know it's Christmas kind of thing. Got to do Home Alone.
Mm. My parents, it was always like the old White Christmas. So my mom's always been nostalgic. It's like a 60s movie. It's got like Bing Crosby and
All right.
Eddie, or not, Danny.
I think for me it started like I remember it was on like TBS when I was in middle school or something like that, and we were off school on Friday, so Black Friday I would go over to my friend's house and we were just hanging out doing a normal whatever, and it was just on, and he had a talk boy from Home Alone 2.
My cousins had one of those.
I will never forget. He had a cat. He had a boy cat. And he said the phrase, "What would you do if I squeezed your ball into that talk boy?" And played with the little timing settings and stuff. And so, like, put it in slow motion. What would you do if I squeezed your balls?
Right.
And it was just the funniest thing ever to us. And like, I will this was when I was like 12, and I still remember that like episode of my life with my friend Ryan Clinton in Racine, Wisconsin. Of him just saying the most dumb thing into the stupid recorder thing, and then playing with the settings on it, and then what would you do? Squeeze your balls, like just playing with all the different stuff that little toy did. And I Macaulay Culkin and Home Alone and that whole scene of my life is all intertwined together, and that's how I know it's Christmas. Thinking about squeezing cat balls.
Squeezing cat balls.
Squeezing cat balls.
It's not Christmas without squeezing cat balls.
I don't know. That's just what it is. Maybe watch Home Alone 3 this year and see if the version has Trump in it or not. Was it 2 or 3 that had Trump in it?
2.
Because they edited it
went
out.
to New York.
Yeah, they edited it out.
What? Out of what?
They're like
the
TV version. They took the Trump scene out.
It was a really short scene anyway, which they're always cutting scenes out.
Yeah, but it seemed a little suspect that it wasn't edited out in prior TV cuts, and then all of a sudden when he was president, it started getting edited out of TV cuts.
I don't know. He's in it for like 2 seconds.
I mean, I guess
it had nothing to do with the storyline.
I know. That's why I'm saying, why would you edit it out if it's not important?
Maybe he just didn't want to give money anymore. Maybe he got royalties for.
That's a good call.
Or even though he was in it for 3 seconds, he was getting $50 every time somebody watched that damn movie.
You could make the argument that they were trying to take out any sort of accidental political to a movie that had nothing to do with it, since it's such a singing at the time. I don't know. Whatever. Last call, friend. You got one more fun news of the weird? Yeah.
I said, nah.
Yeah. Come on. You said yeah.
I think there's monkeys still on the loose. Did you hear about that in South Carolina?
Maybe. I'm going to say no. Have you? Oh, you haven't watched. You don't have HBO. HBO has a series called Florida Man, and it's pretty fantastic.
Let's see here. 6 monkeys still on the loose after dozens escaped earlier this month from a South Carolina compound that breeds the primates for medical research. Yeah, one of the other stories was like they were out having fun or something.
Isn't that the plot from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back?
I think they tried to...
I am the master of the clit.
I think they tried to like get some of the animals out. That's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, it was Jay's trying to impress the girl, and they were...
Yeah, one of them was actually Silent Bob's wife.
Yeah,
one of the women in it.
Yeah, and they were using them as a diversion for the cops while they went and stole a bunch of jewelry or something like that. And Jay was trying to impress the girl. I am the master of the clit. Ah, great scene, great movie, great series of movies. I haven't seen any of his in a while. All right, escape monkeys. They're still out on the loose. How long have they been running around free? In the jungles of South Carolina?
Let's see here. It says it escaped earlier this month.
I mean, we're at the end of the month, so that could be anywhere between a week and 29 days now.
They were trapped. Let's see here. Bringing the total of recovered monkeys to 37 of the 43 that escaped. I think it's 43 total.
37 are captured, so there's still 6 on the loose?
Yeah.
Damn. Get out there and make some monkey babies.
They're rhesus monkeys.
See if they're probably all genetically altered and stuff like that from being in lab tests, and some weird giant mutant monkeys coming out of them.
I thought there was like a funny quote that somebody said.
It's getting hairy out here.
They're basically out there about having a road trip or they're having an adventure.
They're out driving cross country in a convertible. All right, my friend. It's good to see you. I missed you last week.
Yeah, I missed you too.
Aw. we did a podcast, everybody. Sorry for taking the week off. Not really, but we did miss y'all last week, and we'll be back next week for more. Not sure what's coming up on the docket. I didn't really pay attention to what's new and exciting and coming down the pipeline. I know there is a city ordinance coming up that I'm very excited to see when it gets on. Hopefully in January, maybe in December. I don't know. We'll see what I can make happen. Yeah, Christmas parade's next week, so I'll be not in it this year, which is a bummer. But if you're in the Rocky Hill neighborhood, the Rocky Hill Christmas parade is fantastic. You should come join us. It's a fun time. Anyway, almost screaming at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, almostscreaming.com. Check out the cool stuff we got there. Hollaroo 25 is getting planned right now, so if you've got a vendor or you want to race a derby car with us, be on the lookout. We'll have sign-ups for all that kind of stuff so soon. Almost screaming at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, your favorite podcast providers. Like, share, and follow, 5-star review, anything you can do to get the word out. Help spread the word. Help tell people what we do and how we do it. And I'm looking forward to an interesting 2025 state session, so we'll see what happens there. Thanks, everybody. Bye.